Hello, welcome to today's episode of More Than Just Task Management. Just in time for your afternoon commute here in the eastern part of Canada and US. This is your favorite daily podcast that helps you build a thriving business. Together with me, Anna Angelova, a business coach and consultant, and my co-host, Jores Minsvant. Hey, Jores, good afternoon.
Hey Anna, good afternoon. Another sunny, beautiful, cold winter day here in summer of Canada. We're
Cold winter
enjoying
day in the
ourselves,
summer. Yes.
enjoying so much of this.
Not bad though. It says 16 degrees, so cool, cool. It's a
Yeah,
decent day. No, not
yeah.
where we want it to be end of May, but anyway, different topic. Uh,
Yes,
and
we can
no,
always complain about the weather.
yeah, that's true. And no, today is not about the weather. So
Oh no, we have a much better, more interesting topic. Another one of your passions.
yes, yeah. So today, and as you know, like if you are listening regularly to our podcast, you know that this week we're focusing on leadership. And today, what we're talking about is conflicting ideas. So, what do you do when there are ideas that on the surface look like it's A or B, one or the other? Like, what do you do? And we will share a couple of things and some examples for how to deal with these. But before we dive into the how part, I just want to let you know that having these conflicting ideas, this is not a problem. It's actually a sign that you are growing and you are leading at a higher level. So it's not something wrong. It shows that the stage where you are now in your business, you're growing, right? And conflicting ideas might actually come from different people, even not just you, right? Your team might be one person might think, oh, we should go in this direction, and the other person might say, no, we need to go in that direction. So it comes with the territory, right? And while in the beginning, as we start our businesses, right, usually things might be a little bit more black and white, right? It might be a little bit easier. This is what I do, and this is the focus. With growth, of course, comes complexity, and you might have two different options, two right answers, right? Which are in a way they're good answers, but they might not be the best options.
Or they may not match. To me, having conflicting ideas is a sign of health. That means you have thinkers in your company. They're not just a bunch of complacent soldiers who are just following your orders. We talked about this yesterday, right? Getting your team involved. Everybody matters. Not just everyone matters, their opinion matters. And their opinions may not be the same as yours. So considering these conflicting ideas and weighing them against each other, it's very healthy. To me, it's very healthy. For example, we always talked about technology adoption, AI, and automation. So the question would be, two ideas would be, do we invest in automation or do we hire more team members, expand the team? Do we stick with our niche market or do we go to new markets? So these are all conflicting ideas, and people may have different opinions. But I mean, what you said, opposing minds, when you put all of these on a board and you do pros and cons and compare them against each other or with each other, not against, against is always headbutting, you may come up with the third option that, or not a compromise, but um, a good combination of the two ideas that's the best of both, better than both.
Better than, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the things we'll be discussing. And a great example, by the way, like you said, do we stick to our niche or do we expand to new markets? You might be thinking about something like this, right? You had very successful business locally, and then there might be opportunities for you to expand also locally, but then also go to a completely different country, for example, or enter a different market completely. So there are always choices, and one way that I love using when it comes to choices is looking at the whole system. And one thing that really helps is the holographic leadership framework and the holographic thinking, way of thinking and seeing. And holographic is ultimately what it means is 3D, right? And showing up as the whole person where you analyze, right? You use your logic, you use your head and mind. You look at the data. What does it say? Like, what do the numbers show, right? What are the facts? What are the projections? Like, what are those models showing us, right? You look at this, then you also look at the heart, like emotions. How do you actually feel about option A and how do you feel about option B? How will this affect your team? How will this affect your people and others you care about, others stakeholders? So emotions is a key part in business. Yes, we are emotional beings, and emotions can be a very strong indicator of about which direction you want to go in. And then, of course, intuition. We did talk a few weeks ago, we talked about intuition. So your gut feeling, right? It's a very, very strong, especially as you hone it, it's so powerful and such a strong weapon that we all have, right? Especially you as a leader. So thinking about the different options, what feels aligned? What's your body telling you before even your conscious mind catches up with this, right? So this is what holographic thinking is, reviewing each of these options, not just pros and cons, because pros and cons kind of keep us in the headspace. You want to be in the headspace, whether it's like the pros and cons, whether it's what the data is showing you, like all these different things. But then you also want to ask your heart, like, what are my personal emotions with this one? And then empathy, tap into your empathy. How will this impact, again, your team, your customers, your prospects, and even your local community, for example? And then, as I said, intuition, your gut feeling. What is your gut feeling telling you there? And I think like an example would be great to just to help you mm, walk through this and think about this one. And I don't know, Joris, do you want to share the example that we have prepared, or should I continue?
About raising prices.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, instead of choosing one angle, you integrate them, right? Maybe you raise the prices, but introduce a lighter offer or a value add. So raise the prices, but offer them more in
Yeah, yeah,
conjunction with what, no, don't just decide, oh, do we offer more or do we do them both, right? And then make sure they align with each other and the customers will be more than happy. And this is what holographic thinking uh, is all about. Instead of
yeah,
why compromise? There shouldn't be a compromise.
yeah,
There's
because
always an alternative.
if you think about like logically, you might look at your prices and say, you know what, we haven't increased prices in a while and our margins are tight, right? So
Mhm.
logically, the numbers are showing that, you know, it's time. Then emotionally, you might be concerned, right? Because this impacts your customers, right? That your clients and the relationship you have with your current clients, like that they might be impacted by this. And then, of course, you also have your employees who might be happy that they would get a raise as well along the line. So, you know, a little bit of like, oh yeah, my employees will be happy, but then what about our clients? And then, of course, your intuition. And your intuition might be telling you that you're actually undervaluing your work, right? So again, looking at all these three things, and Joris, what you said, absolutely, like you integrate these, where you like might it's not just black and white, as I said in the beginning. You might go with raise the prices and introduce a lighter offer or a value add that actually brings more to the table to what you offer.
And justifies the increase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this was with
totally.
holographic thinking, right? And holographic leadership. Another one that I know I read this one before I started my MBA degree, right? Before I started my MBA program at Rotman. And this one, at the time, Roger Martin was the dean, right? And they gave us this book as we enrolled, The Opposable Mind. Who
Mhm.
did I love this one? And in the opposable mind, it's more about the what. Like he's not sharing how's there. Like he's not sharing how leaders are doing this, but he's sharing a lot of stories of the best, like the best leaders, the best thinkers, right? How they hold conflicting ideas, opposite ideas, right, in their minds, and use that tension to come up with a solution that's better than the two options. And I really love this thinking. And then the second book, I don't remember the title of the second book. Like there was a second book that was the Roger Martin introduced, he co-authored, where they actually talk about how to do this, how to come up with these solutions, right? And this is one of the things, again, that it's not about compromise, just like you said, Jores, it's not about compromise. It's coming up with an innovative, better option out of those conflicting ideas. And this one, you might also have heard this as integrative thinking, and definitely a skill I would highly recommend for you to develop as a business owner, as a leader. It would be an invaluable skill, especially like what is happening right now. It's so interesting. I noticed that some other people are also having the same concern that I'm having, that in the age of those LLMs, so-called AIs, we are starting to outsource thinking, and being able to think, especially out of the box, and come up with integrative solutions will be a superpower. So highly recommended.
Yeah, I think the book is called Opposable Minds, how winning through integrative thinking.
Yeah, this is the first book. This is the first book. Yeah, and then they have a second one. I can.
No, I think the first one was Opposable Mind, and then the second one is Winning Through Thinking. They're 2 years apart. Anyways.
Oh, the second one is called Winning.
Yes, the first one is called Opposable Mind, that came out in 2007, and the sequel was Opposable Mind: Winning Through Interactive Thinking. That was 2009.
Could be, could be.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh no, creating great choices. Sorry, creating great choices.
Okay. Oh, yeah, so many books.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Creating great choices is the second book. Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah. That's very well put. That's an amazing point. Thank you, Anna. I know it's your passion, and you put it very well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And because I actually really appreciate having examples as well. So let's say you are wondering, do you create structure in your business, or do you want to have flexibility in your business? And again, like with the previous example, when we talked about prices, that yes, you raise the price and do something else, right? So instead of choosing one, you can ask, how can we create a structure that adapts, for example? So maybe you set weekly outcomes with your team, but then your team chooses how and when to deliver, right? And again, it's called integrative thinking, and it helps you create solutions that are better than the two options.
You know that I don't like, even in my writings, when I read something or when I write an email or when I speak, I really, really don't like the word but and or, B-U-T and or, because there's always, if you think in an yes and, not yeah, but or no, but if you think in yes and realm, you're really starting to think innovatively, because you're not thinking, oh, I'm wrong, you're right, you're wrong, I'm right, vice versa, win, lose, lose, lose. Think about yes and. Yeah, we can. You're talking about going to new markets. Yes, let's go to new markets, and let's go with a new product. Or like thinking in a yes and rather than either or.
This just happened actually very recently, when I think I was typing something, right, and you told me, "Oh, replace but with and."
I really don't like to. And you see how it changes the message?
It changes it, yeah, it changes it,
Completely changes the
absolutely.
message. And it tells the other person, first of all, it changes the way they think. And then they realize, oh, this guy is actually, it's a very positive, because there's something called the Yabat syndrome. Those are people who don't, who listen with their mouth. After the second word comes out of your mouth, they're not listening to you anymore. They're already conducting creating their answer. By the time you get to the end of your sentence, the answer comes, yeah, but my way is better. So I really, really dislike, and I've trained myself. And sometimes I inadvertently type the but, and I go back, and when I read it, I'm like, no, don't say but, say and. We have
yeah,
a
sometimes,
we have a problem and we found a solution. You know,
and we're
it's
working, or if we haven't found a solution, it can be, and we are working on a solution, right? We
on a
are,
solution. Yeah,
uh,
it's a very different kind of thinking. It's very difficult because, like, inherently we want to be right and the other person be wrong, even if it's we're wrong at the cost of them being wrong, we become right, and that's a very negative. I hate that thinking. And I can even see that over the decades I work with people. I can see the way they're listening. I know they're what's going to come out of their mouth next. So I've trained myself to think in the yes and always compromise. Always not compromise. I don't think it's a compromise. Compromise is here are the two ideas. I know your idea is half right, but I'm going to compromise and say your idea is right. This kind of thinking is I'm right, you're right, and this is the combination of the two right thinkings.
which
Third
brings us
option.
very well, actually, it brings us very well to what to do when you are navigating conflicting ideas, whether it's something that's going on within your team or even in your own head, right?
Mhm.
So, first and foremost, like you said, Jores, acknowledge both ideas. They're both valid ideas. Each of them is trying to create value, right? And this is one of the things that all models are wrong, right? So each idea is a model that you have the option. So acknowledge both of them. They're both viable ideas. Otherwise, you would not be thinking about them. And then after you acknowledge both ideas, then kind of zoom out, right? Take a step back. And this is one of the things that we do as well. What is actually the shared higher level value that they're both pointing to, right? Like what's actually the ultimate goal? And after you step out of that and like think about it, then integrate by asking, what would the solution look like if we honor both? And again, one of the things in creating great choices, actually, one of the approaches that they were sharing there is that sometimes what happens is that one of the ideas is really, really, really great, but then, but see, but is so one of the ideas is really great, and then there might be something in the second idea. So ultimately, the integration would be let's grab idea A and just this one component from idea B, right? This might be how it works. Or there might be just one component from idea A, one component from idea B, and combine the two of them, right? So
Yep.
after you acknowledge the both ideas, both options, after you zoom out and see, okay, what are we actually solving for? Then it's the time to integrate, time to see how you can honor both, but honor both in a way that it's not everything from both, right? It might actually be that this is actually what we want from this idea, from this option. This is what we want from that option, and now we combine it. And
Mhm.
of course, the
Yeah.
last part is once you have a solution, test it, go forward, experiment, because ultimately it's everything in business. And this is one of the things I love about business is that we are like scientists, right?
Mhm.
Test it and see. It might work, it might not work, and that's perfectly okay. The fact that you took
Of
steps, the
course.
fact that you actually integrated two ideas and
Mhm.
see how it works.
And sometimes when you integrate the two ideas, they actually protect you from the damage if you were going to go with one of them. So, for example, let's say you have your team is split on launching a beta or waiting for perfection. One side wants to protect a brand, the other side wants to get momentum and go to the market. So instead of fighting and picking one over the other, you might launch a limited access high touch beta, announce it that it is a high maintenance beta, and then move it forward while maintaining your standards. So with an explanation, you launch the beta and move forward.
Yeah, and it
So
allows you, this is,
best of
if you
both
think
worlds.
about it, this is a great way to gain the momentum to actually even start getting some real market feedback
Mhm.
without just playing in your own playground.
Yep.
And then at the same time, like you said, keep your standards, like make sure that for the real launch, it's actually at a standard that you're known for, your company is known for. And again, this is such a powerful way of thinking and coming with solutions, because a lot of times we're thinking, oh, it's this or that. It's either this one or that one. Like it's either we launch now or we launch later. Why not launch limited functionality to limited number of people, specifically selected people, right?
Yeah. I remember many moons ago, in the 90s, not aging myself. I walked into our office at a company that we
In the
worked
last the 90s, in the previous millennia.
in the
Well,
previous millennia. Yes. I walked into the office 7:30 in the morning, and as I was walking by one of the boardrooms, one of the managers called me in. I went in and I sat, and it was a speaker. There were about 20, 25 people on the call. There was a big disaster. One of the sites crashed, and there were two teams on the, so we were the hosts, and there were two teams on the call. One team were the developers, one team were the technical people. So developers were saying, "Oh, we're going to get in, and we have we need to spend the next whatever, maybe 6 to 8 hours to fix this problem." The technical team was saying, "Well, we don't really have that much time. We need to actually get this going. The client is screaming at us. Tick tock, tick tock. Dealerships are starting at 8 p.m. It's 7:30." And then they kept going back. It got into a shouting match. And then the manager put everyone on the mute and asked me and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, I don't see any problems. I don't know why everybody is fighting, because what I see are two very good solutions. One is a short-term solution, will get us up and running by 8 a.m., takes the pressure off of us. Everybody goes back to their desk, and development team now, without the pressure from the client, they'll work on the proper solution. By tomorrow morning, we'll have the proper solution in house, and this will never happen again." And I think there was like a 15-second of the most awkward silence you could ever imagine. And the manager put like turned around and said, "What are you waiting for? You heard the man. Go. You, this team, go implement the solution. Let us know when the client is up and running. You guys go start working on the final solution. And I'm going to call the client and say, we'll have the system up and running by 8 o'clock. And then tomorrow we'll have the complete solution." Why fight? I mean, they were so caught up into saying that I'm right, you're wrong, that they didn't see that these were both good solutions. And there's no need to do one or the other, do both.
yeah,
It's
and
like
this is one of the
this.
things I love this example, and time actually is one of the dimensions you can add when you expand your thinking from being just one-dimensional or two-dimensional into kind of 3D, right? And all these things,
Yeah.
like there's so much power. One of the things I really loved about the second book that I mentioned, Creating Great Choices, it's really so really interesting the way that they describe this in the book is how when we communicate, and this is, I know we're going into a completely different topic, but I love because you opened the door, Jores. So ultimately, the idea is this, that if we imagine reality, objective reality, being a pool of information and data on the bottom, and you imagine ladders, and we are on the top of the ladder with all our assumptions, all our interpretations, our biases, our own experiences, and everything layered on top of that pure reality on the bottom, right? So when we communicate from the top of that ladder where, again, everything is layered and we see things through our own perspective. And what they're saying is when we communicate, we actually want to peel the layers. We want to get down and actually start seeing, why is this team saying that this is the solution? What are they seeing? And then why is that team saying this is the solution? What are they seeing? And then if again, in the example you're sharing, Jores, you clearly saw that this is short term, it will have us up and running in an hour. This is long term, it will be ready in a day or two. But if you don't have someone like you, right? So if you're not very used to integrative thinking, then again, like peeling the layers of why do we prefer this solution? Why do they prefer that solution? Peeling the layers to see where the disconnect is, where what they're seeing, what you're seeing, and in a way it kind of opens the door for you to exactly have that aha moment and be like, oh, they are saying this is the solution because how quickly it will be available and ready.
Hmm.
The other team is saying this is the solution because of how sustainable this is. It might not be ready in an hour, but it's sustainable and it's long term. So you can reach that same conclusion that okay, let's go and do this thing that is short term and very quick and tactical, and then let's move to the strategic. So love what you're saying, and it reminded me of that part of the book, that chapter where they talked about how we communicate and how we communicate from the top of the ladder with our own blind thoughts, basically saying, "Oh no, I'm right. Oh no, I'm right," kind of thing. And then instead of peeling the
Hmm.
layer and saying, "Why? Like why? What's going?" Like really out of curiosity, right? Not from
Hmm.
judgment of, "Oh, why are you saying this?" But from
Hmm.
curiosity, help me understand like what's behind it, right?
The
Um,
other reason is the focus wasn't on the target. The three teams that were on the call, us, the developers, and the technical team, we had one goal, and that is to satisfy the business, solve their problem quickly. But they focused on themselves. No, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. But all I did was, oh, well, the client is waiting for 8 o'clock. Let's get this up and running. The problem is solved. Then we go. Like, think about the client. Think about why are we here? So I've had so many conversations with people, especially in IT. They go into these companies, they build these systems, and they hug them like their children and say, "Oh, this is me. I've done this." But they completely lose sight of IT is a function of a business. We serve the business. IT does, unless it's a software company, we don't make you don't make money. Like they lose the sight of that. They start dictating to the business. And I've been on both sides, and I've been on the fence sitting on both of them talking like, you guys own the data. These guys are just managing it. Don't put the OS on the IT. And IT, you don't own the data. Stop dictating to the business how it should be. They have to. It's like when they look at you like, actually, you're right. And then all the pressure goes out of the room. It's like, okay, the it's deflated. Let's now move forward with that because we lose the sight of what we're here for. That's why we cannot think with opposable minds are bad and no. If two minds put together opposing each other, serve the customer the best solution.
that's why again such a great example, and the four steps we shared, right?
Mhm.
Acknowledge both options, both truths. It's yeah, these are both viable options. And then, as I said, zoom out. What's actually the higher value, right? What's the higher value that both are pointing to? Like, why are we actually here? What's the shared goal? And then the integration part. So awesome conversation. And I know we're almost at
Yep.
30 minutes now.
Yes, we
So
always go passionately over.
oh, of course, of course. And I wanna encourage you for today or tomorrow, because I know it might be late in the day today, to identify one area where you're sitting on two conflicting ideas. Like you probably have this, like, do we do this, do we do that? And apply it, the framework, like applying the frameworks we share, the holographic thinking, the opposable mind thinking, right? All these steps, and see what new possibilities emerge. And we would actually love to hear your experience once you go through the process. And of course, if there's any way like that you need support, more support, or you want to bounce off things of someone, like we are here for you. And
Mhm.
one way for you to do this is if you actually join our biweekly newsletter. Uh, we will be sharing. First of all, we'll be sharing more insights with you. Second, you are actually getting into the uh, pool of people eligible for a complimentary business assessment, like the Thrive 360 Business Clarity Accelerator we have, which is valued at $5,000. And when you join our newsletter, you get a chance to get a complimentary business assessment, which is like woohoo! And as you join it, of course, you can respond back to our emails and bounce ideas off of us, right? So a lot of benefits. I highly encourage you to join the newsletter. And also
session,
join us.
Anna.
Sorry, what did you say?
It's a great session.
Oh yeah, it was a great session. It was a great session, yeah. And we'll be back tomorrow, more towards our usual time, right?
Yes.
When we will be discussing new members, new team members. And I know you might actually be at a place where you have just hired or you're about to hire. So join in to see what we have to, or more like listen to what we have to share when it comes to how you integrate new members better into your team.
And enable, yep.
Enable them, yeah. Very, yeah, another word you love.
Oh, yes. I live by it.
Yes, I know you do. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in today. Jores, thank you. A wonderful session as always. And I will see you tomorrow morning, more towards our usual time.
Thank you, Anna. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.